Let's talk a little bit about the predictable revenue model.
Yep.
So what was happening before, and how is your model different? What does it really do for us?
Sure. Okay. So, the predictable revenue sales model came from the book Predictable Revenue. I'll probably just call it like the specialized sales model because that's really what it's about, specialization. The history of sales was salespeople prospecting for themselves and closing their own deals, right? It's like that was a cultural, from 100 years ago, tinkers on the plains had to, sell their oil out and do all their own stuff. But that is a legacy habit that has now been changing. It's not completely changed. Salespeople doing all their own prospecting, filling their own pipelines, and closing their deals, and maybe even managing their own customers.
Yeah.
Right?
So every salesperson for themselves.
Every salesperson for themselves.
Yeah.
And there are some industries where that makes sense, with like a lot of financial services companies, and so it's not that is never going to work or it's not a thing. But especially, let's go back to software companies, and for high performance sales organizations, the best way to design those sales teams is to specialize. Like, is there a sports team out there that doesn't have specialized roles, like attacker, defender, midfield, goalie? Or are there teams that could say, like, everyone go attack and defend, do whatever you want, like every man for themselves on the team? There might be one. I don't know what it is. That is really the metaphor for specialized sales teams. Everyone's got their job, right? And there are a few core, like, common jobs, right? Attacker, defender, midfield, goalie, right? In sales, it's outbound prospecting, inbound lead response, signing new customers, and, say, customer success. Right? There's a lot of flavors of that, though, but that is the essence of it. So the main jobs, right, I mentioned, are the prospecting, inbound, signing customers, and success. That's kind of the four core roles, and that has been something that has now, like, in all the fastest growing companies, software companies in the world, that's like the standard. Now, they all take their own version of it. And I think this is important for anyone in sales to understand how this, where they sit and how they move around. And again, it's really more about focus. It's not about having those jobs. It's about having people do fewer things better. Software companies, you end up with, and salespeople who are signing new customers, usually there's you usually end up with like three different types. There's kind of your enterprise people doing complex sales, like fewer, bigger, $1 million deals, or euro, whatever your currency is. It's called mid-market, doing, a few tens of thousands. And there's like small business transactional, right, doing lots of smaller ones. And those rhythms are very different, right? If I'm doing like high volume selling, that doesn't go well with slow, big, complex processes. And that's why this works. The reason salespeople shouldn't prospect, right? So the salespeople shouldn't prospect is because if I'm a good salesperson and I'm prospecting, then I end up getting so busy with even if I can do that well, if I get so busy with my closing, then I can't prospect, and I kind of get into this roller coaster. Like, I've got pipeline, and then I close it, then I don't have a pipeline, I got a prospect, and it's very rare. I don't know if it's 1 in 10. I don't really know what it is. Very rare to have a person who can kind of prospect and close consistently on their own. So the answer is, you've got, prospectors who prospect, closers who close, inbound lead responders who respond, and so on. And you have handoffs, so that someone sets a meeting up. There's a salesperson who closes a customer, that gets handed off to, a variety of after sales teams. Could be professional services, implementation, account management, customer success. I mean, there's a lot of flavors of this, but it is about knowing what jobs need to be done, having people who are like dedicated as much as possible, like specialists to those jobs, working in harmony.
So really everybody has to build focus in their own specific functions, and I guess not get sort of distracted, because, like you said, they go at different tempos, and that's like a literal sort of.
Yeah, it's an orchestra, right? It's like it's an orchestra you want to play in harmony. So again, like, you end up with like enterprise prospectors. There's lots of labels now. They're termed like XDR, all the labels and everything. But you have kind of prospectors who prospect to enterprises, passing appointments to enterprise salespeople. Mid-market prospectors. They're all working in harmony as much as possible. There's always like a lot of gray areas, and it's never quite as simple. But if you're someone who's trying to do everything, you're not going to be good at, anything. In this case.
Right.
So that's the essence of it. And especially as the world gets busier, like to me, and you'll see lots of people who will say, oh, like BDRs, SDRs, like kind of junior jobs are going to be automated. They're going to go away. No, they're not. They're going to be more than ever. Because the future means more specialization because the world's getting busier. One of the things that helps cut through the busyness and the noise is focus, right? And that's really what a lot of my books have been about, is focus. And so in this case, it's how can you have people focus on doing fewer things better and to cut through the overwhelm. Okay, so I said a lot of times, let's see, salespeople shouldn't prospect. Okay, it's a dramatization. Salespeople should prospect. Like, it's not even prospect, it's really salespeople need to develop their own business. And again, there's so many different situations. And hopefully a salesperson might have like some either prior accounts or like old deals or friends or something. So the idea is that salespeople, as much as possible, shouldn't be cold calling hundreds of prospects. There's probably like 5 or 10 or 30 target accounts or partners that they are going out to develop. Again, some companies have partnerships that work really well, some don't. But you are putting some time into developing your own business. And I think the challenge is that kind of stuff is so important but not urgent. It gets just pushed aside all the time. It's kind of like maybe whether it's, I don't know, eating vegetables or extra, whatever your thing is, like, I know I need to do something, I'm not doing it. So I think it's so important for salespeople who need to do this, to do whatever they're not getting to doing, right? It might be cold calling, it might be calling prior customers, whatever that is. Find a buddy or two, right? Set some time on the calendar, 1, 2, 3 times a week, hour, 2 hours, whatever that is. It's like a training buddy, right? We're going to go to the gym. Okay, we're going to keep each other accountable, and we're going to get there. We're going to egg each other on, right? We're not going to get there and just kind of like flop around. We're going to okay, are we going to do this or what? That's like the best way I can think of to get that going, so that you have some control of your own destiny to develop your own business from wherever that makes sense for you. But yeah, you shouldn't be like, so if you have a prospector on your team, they should be doing more of the high volume, like coldish, kind of lower value work. But you should be doing some higher value, like more targeted business development for yourself.